Hello everyone, I'm Barofi1322 and welcome to, I guess you could say, the return of the GTA fact-finding series, because it has been a while since I made one, and certainly a while since I made a proper one like this as well. So this is going to be all about off-road capabilities of cars. Now, a lot of people often ask me to test all of the vehicles off-road and sort of get lap times for them and see if they change or anything like that. I don't really feel the need to do that because it's, testing these cars takes a long time, and the benefit that people are going to get from that I don't think is quite as much, because in general, as we'll see throughout the course of this video, there's not a lot that changes between the cars, but there is specific aspects to these vehicles that determine how good they are off-road, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Now, this is going to be a video that contains spreadsheet work, like a few have before in the past. Some of you guys actually like that, but there is spreadsheet related aspects to this video, and that's basically what I'm going to be doing, is looking at the spreadsheet, looking at the stats and explaining what they mean, going through it and looking at some interesting aspects to some of the cars in some of the different classes with regards to how quick they are and how good they are off-road. Now, for the purposes of this video, off-road basically means any surface that isn't proper road. So the dirt, grass, sand at the beach, anything like that. Anything that isn't proper road or pavement or something like that. So for those of you who don't know, there is a spreadsheet that I've made for various different things in GTA. It's quite popular now, a lot of people already know about it, but it also contains basically all of the lap times from all of the testing that I've done. That's what it started out as, in various different guises. So you've got all the vehicles in one big lump combined from start to finish. You've got all the vehicles by class, for lap times, all that kind of stuff. I've recently updated it to include all of the top speeds for all of the vehicles that from the recent testing that I've done. Obviously there's some classes that I haven't done yet, but that can always happen in the future. And there's also handling data sheets, which are basically containing all of the raw data from all of the vehicles in the game based on, so this is basically the code. This is the code that the game uses to determine how fast a vehicle is. I've talked about it at length in previous videos. I'll leave some links in the description to the previous fact-finding videos where I talk about all of these individual aspects and how they go towards car performance and why you can never trust the stats in-game either. So the one thing that we want to talk about in this video is basically this stat right here, which is called F traction loss mult, basically meaning the multiplier for traction loss in GTA. Now, every single vehicle in the game has a value for this. I'll also, by the way, leave a link to this spreadsheet in the description. Feel free to bookmark it and keep using it because it is a good reference and a lot of work went into it, so you might as well get some use out of it. So this is the main thing that we're talking about, and what I've done is I've got this is the main handling sheet what you're seeing right now that contains all of the game code directly taken from the game, but I also made a basic aspect so you could easily see some aspects of car performance. I've talked about it in previous videos, and what I've done is added this traction loss multiplier value onto the end of this as off-road grip loss. So what this means basically is that if there's a value of 1 here, then that is pretty much, the higher the value here, the more speed you lose off-road. Now, when I say off-road grip loss, it's not just in terms of traction or sort of cornering ability. It also slows you down in terms of the speed that you go in terms of top speed and acceleration and things like that. It's just general all-round speed reduction. So I guess that's a better way to consider this. A higher value here means that the speed of the vehicle off-road is significantly slower. Now, the reason that I say that it's not really that important to test a lot of these is because, frankly, a lot of them are very, very similar. For example, you've got the coupes class here. All of those have a value of 1. So there's absolutely no difference. You're going to lose the same amount of speed off-road with every single coupe in the game. So the same goes for the compacts, and the same also actually goes for the supercars class as well. As you can see, if we scroll down, and again, this is what this video is going to be like. I'm just sort of going through the spreadsheet, exploring a few different aspects, and I'll point out some very interesting ones later on as well. But as you can see, all of the supercars, they all have a value of 1 here as well. So they all lose the same amount of speed off-road. So if I were to test them off-road, they would get exactly the same order off-road as what they do on-road. So there's no point in going back and testing them all. Basically, what you want to be doing if you decide to sort of look into this yourself and look at these stats, you want to be finding outliers, vehicles that don't follow the same pattern. Now, the SUVs class is quite an interesting one, and I'm going to start with that. As you can see here, a lot of them are sort of 0.9, 0.8, 0.85. That's not really going to have that much of a difference, whether it's 1 or 0.8 or 0.9. It's not really going to make a significant difference to a car's performance off-road. But when you look here at the ballers, all of the ballers have a value of 0.2, which is very, very low. So the ballers are actually very, very good off-road. And this is something that's been known about for a while by people who've used them. The ballers can certainly take it to the Huntley and even beat the Huntley off-road, because if you look here, the Huntley's off-road grip loss value is 0.9, which is almost 1. It's pretty much the same as most other cars in the game. Most cars have a value over 0.8, and a vast majority of them have a value of 1, and that's just pretty much standard. So the ballers are actually very, very good off-road, and if you're doing an SUV race and it has some off-road sections, or it's entirely off-road, the baller is probably the quickest vehicle to have. I mean, the Huntley is still very quick. It's not as if this completely changes anything in terms of the Huntley suddenly becomes terrible, but this does have a significant impact on how quick these cars are off-road, and having something as low as a value of 0.2 means that the ballers are very, very good. So that's the SUVs class, and that's sort of, again, looking for these outliers, looking for these vehicles that are slightly different to the norm. Now, let's have a look at the sports class, because the sports class is quite an interesting one. As you can see, as normal, the vast majority of sports cars have a value of 1. That's to be expected. That's what a lot of vehicles have. There are 2 distinct outliers to that, though. The first is, we'll start with the Kuruma. The Kuruma is incredible off-road. We already know this. It's probably the quickest vehicle off-road in the entire game, I would say, apart from maybe something like the Sanchez, which is just, ridiculous anyway. But even so, it may even be quicker than the Sanchez. But the reason for that is that it has an off-road grip loss of 0, which means that it's completely unaffected by whatever surface it's on. The Kuruma will be the same speed off-road as it is on-road. The same goes for the armoured Kuruma, which is obviously a little bit slower in general. But it doesn't matter what surface the Kuruma is on, it will be going at exactly the same speed, and that is why it's so powerful off-road. And as you can see, the Sultan here has a off-road grip loss of 1, which is pretty much the maximum of what you can have. Almost anyway, as we'll see. But that's why sort of when I originally did the testing of the Kuruma and it was sort of 0.6 of a second slower than the Sultan, I said yes, the Sultan is technically the quicker four-door car, but off-road the Kuruma would just demolish it, and that's what you find with this. So that is the first example there of a car that completely ignores the surface that it's on, and any value close to 0 on this off-road grip loss presents a car that is going to be very, very, very good in an off-road condition, similar to the Ballers before. Now, the other end of that is the Jester and the Jester race car, which have values of 1.4. That is the highest in the game, and this is the only vehicle in the game, the Jester, that has a value higher than 1. From what I've seen, I haven't seen any other value. 1 seems to be the absolute maximum. 0 is the minimum, 1 is the maximum, and then there's a variety of different vehicles in between that range. But the Jester is very special. It's got an off-road traction loss of 1.4, which is huge. And if anybody's ever owned a Jester and taken it off-road, this probably doesn't come as a surprise because it just goes so slow. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, if you do have a Jester and you ever take it off-road, or you're ever in a race situation where it's an off-road aspect, just don't use it. Never use the Jester off-road because it is absolutely ridiculously slow. So that's an interesting one there, just completely different to everything else. I'm not quite sure why it's got such a huge traction loss value, but yeah, it is quite special that it's so much worse than everything else off-road. Now let's have a look what else we've got. Most, as you can see, again, all of the sedans, they're all a value of 1. Pretty bog standard. A lot of the classes are like that. We'll come on to the off-road class in a second. When you look at the muscles class, you've got a lot of values of 1, a lot of values of 0.9, which is not really any different to 1. It's not going to make a significant impact on performance. But there are a few zeros here, similar to the Kuruma, and the zeros are actually for the hot knife here, the Lost Slam Van, the Rat Loader, the Rat Truck, and the regular Slam Van. So those 5 vehicles have an off-road traction loss of 0, so they're all quite good off-road. Now, they're not very quick in general. The Slam Van, the Rat Loader, the Rat Truck, the Hot Knife, they're all towards the lower end of the muscle cars class anyway. So again, there's no difference in general sort of order of things in terms of sort of speed off-road. But it's interesting to know that, there are some vehicles in these classes that they do get a significantly better off-road. And I know from experience that someone, I think it was Doodle Monopoly in my crew, drove the Hot Knife, which is ridiculously off the pace regularly in an off-road situation, and he didn't do too badly with it. So there is interesting things to be sort of looked at there, and if you do have an interest in doing off-road races, this is the kind of thing that you need to be looking at and testing out. As you can see, the Sanchez here, that's got a 0.5, which is the best that you can see in the motorbikes class. A few of those, obviously the Enduro is one of those as well. The Hakuchu is actually reasonably good off-road with a 0.8 there. Again, it's not that much different to 1, but it's not too bad. And the PCJ 600 with that 0.6, that might be a good option off-road as well. Just looking through all of these, obviously we're not really bothered about industrial or emergency. Okay, let's delve into the off-road class to finish it off. Actually, I didn't look at vans. As you can see, as you're probably aware at this point, also the Tornado has values of 0 in this, so that's quite interesting. But as you're probably aware at this point, I am just talking through it as I go and just looking at some interesting aspects. The vans class, the Bison is pretty good off-road, 0.6 there. That's the best in the vans class apart from the Surfer, which isn't going to be that much better anyway. Obviously, we've got 0.8 for the Bobcat and 0.9 for the minivan, but that's not really going to make much of a difference to those with 1. So yeah, let's look at the off-roads class, because that's probably going to be the most interesting and the one that most people would race off-road anyway. Now, as you can see, for the off-roads class, no vehicle has a value of 1. That is very, very strange when you compare it to other vehicles, and it's to be expected. They're meant to be off-road vehicles. They're in the off-road class. Why would an off-road vehicle have an off-road grip loss of 1, the same as a supercar or the same as a sports car? So that makes sense. And we've actually got quite a lot of zeros, so quite a lot of vehicles that are completely unaffected by the surface that they're on. Obviously, we've got the top 4 here: the Bifter, the Blazer, the Bodie, the Brawler. They're all zeros. We've got the Dune Buggies is a 0 as well. We've got the Hot Rod Blazer, the Injection, the Insurgent Pickup, and the Kalahari. And down here, we've also got the Technical as well. So all of those vehicles, doesn't really matter what you're on, whether you're off-road or on-road. They're going to perform exactly the same as they normally do anyway. So again, looking at my testing, in general, the order of the vehicles that I got is going to be pretty much exactly the same. Now, it's not exactly as simple as that. There are going to be some slight differences and ways that some vehicles take off-road bumps and things like that. But what I'm saying is, if you were to take my testing circuit and change the surface to dirt instead of having, with no bumps, just exactly the same as it is now, but have sort of sand over it or grass over it or something like that, then the testing would be exactly the same, as long as these off-road grip loss values are the same as well. Now, as you can see here, the Dubster 6x6 is actually the highest for this, with a 0.8, pretty close to the 1 that we've seen from other classes. So they are going to lose a reasonable amount of speed off-road. Dubster 6x6, the Rancher XL, and the 2 Sand Kings are actually very similar in that regard. So those 4 vehicles, for being off-road vehicles, are pretty not that great off-road really. And then you've got a few 0.5s, 0.4s. You've got a 0.1 there from the Merryweather Mesa, which is pretty decent. But yeah, the off-roads class in general are very good off-road, which is exactly what you would expect. Now, so it would be interesting to know how, what is the absolute quickest vehicle off-road. But the problem with doing any kind of testing with that is that off-road aspects are just, they're so open to various different variables. There's so many variables in there. What kind of sort of off-road surface it is, whether there's lots of bumps in it, sort of the ways that it goes around the map, whether it's got camber, and there's so much different, so many variables to do with off-road testing that it's not really a good idea to sort of try to nail it down specifically. The best thing that you can do if you're in an off-road situation or you want to do some off-road races is just practice the track that you're on in a few different cars. That these off-road values that I've mentioned are reasonably okay in a few different cars, and just try it out, because like most situations, different tracks will suit different vehicles. But I think that's even more true for off-road situations and off-road vehicles, just based on the very nature of the variables that you can encounter in off-road circuits. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. I just wanted to do a video to explain a little bit more about how different vehicles react to off-road situations, and it's not quite as clear-cut as just being able to go and test a vehicle off-road and see what lap time it gets. And most of the time, most of the vehicles lose the same amount of speed off-road as everything else in their class. It's only a very few small number of outliers that are quite interesting that will change in that respect. And obviously the off-road class is probably the most interesting when it comes to that sort of thing, but most of them don't lose any grip off-road anyway. So yeah, I just thought I would put this video out there. I hope it's helped you guys. I hope it's given you a bit more insight into what makes a car and a vehicle in general good off-road. Again, I'll leave all the links that you need if you want to sort of look into this more and listen about me rambling on about more aspects of car performance. All of that will be in the description if you want to go check those out. So thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to leave a like and comment and all that stuff down below if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.